So let's take a look at another product. Let's go to the orange juice carton. Maybe you probably already know that you can recycle orange juice cartons. Here in Montgomery County, I should say in most parts of Montgomery County, we have what's called dual stream recycling. Means all our paper products go in one, and then our glass, plastic, metals go in another one. This is actually to make it more profitable for the county when it comes to selling our recycled materials to other countries and other industries. So, orange juice carton, paper or plastic? And it's actually paper recycling. You can take off the plastic cap, you can put that in plastic recycling, but the actual juice carton itself can be put in paper recycling and does get processed as such. I'm not going to talk too much about recycling, mainly because you probably have been recycling most of your life. It's something that Montgomery County picks up from your home or your apartment or your condo or townhouse. So you're probably like, I know there's paper and I know there's plastic. So let me talk about more of the exceptions. So when it comes to plastics, most plastics have a triangle with a number in them. In Montgomery County, we can recycle all of these different types of plastics except number 6. Number 6 is styrofoam. Styrofoam products cannot be recycled in Montgomery County. They actually can't be recycled in most places in the United States. These are a very, very difficult thing to recycle, which is also why we're having a lot of styrofoam bans, because once we make it, there's really not much else we can do with it. Coated cartons, so that orange juice box, milk cartons, again, those can be recycled. Just be sure you're putting that in paper recycling. Pizza boxes. Oh, this one irks me the most. So pizza boxes kind of can be recycled. If you've opened up your pizza box, you've eaten all the pizza, you probably noticed that there's probably grease stains. Food stained paper cannot be recycled. So that pizza box that has that grease stain cannot be recycled. That is very, very difficult to get out of paper in the recycling process. So only clean paper, things that don't have food residues soaked into them, can be recycled. But if you look at your pizza box, typically your whole thing is not stained. What I recommend is if you rip off the lid, a lot more pizza boxes now have serrations for you to do that. Your lid more than likely has no grease on it. Recycle the lid. That bottom part needs to be thrown away. If you want to be really environmentally friendly, and I, may or may not do this at home, cut around all the grease stains, throw that part away, and then recycle all the non-grease stain part. Takes a lot more work. Understandable if you don't, but at least with your pizza box, recycle the top and not the bottom. When they go to sort it, they'll just throw out the whole pizza box if you threw in the whole pizza box. They don't have enough time to sort through all these items and then to take out and rip apart your pizza box. You need to do that hard work. You need to do it. Okay. When it comes to things that had liquids in them, empty them, try to rinse them. The recycling center will take, say, a full bottle of water. They will take that. They will take a full jar of peanut butter. However, you are doing them a big disservice. The very first step of all the recyclable materials is they come in and they go through this crusher, and it crushes everything to make it a little bit easier to go through the machinery. So you can imagine if you have a full bottle of water that goes through this crusher, water is going to spray everywhere. Peanut butter is going to spray everywhere. Paint, which shouldn't be recycled anyway, but paint will go everywhere. Well, one, there's workers that are near that crusher, so you're probably spraying water and peanut butter and paint on them. But two, this is all machinery that all this recyclable material is going through. If you're adding liquids to this machinery, that's going to rust parts, that's going to do different things. If the recycling center ever has to shut down because it has to do repairs mainly related to the way you and I recycle, that recycled material that would have been sent there goes straight to trash. We don't hold on to it to recycle it once the power gets back on. We trash it. So the more that you and I can do to prevent things from breaking and prevent maintenance from happening is going to improve our recycling process. So again, they will take it, but we should do our part to clean those items and rinse those items. And then finally, paper beverage cups. Even though they have a slight plastic coating on the inside, that's okay. Just like our coated milk cartons or coated juice cartons, those can be recycled as well. So let's talk about some things you cannot recycle that a lot of people think you can. So plastic bags and other wraps cannot be recycled. Do not put those in your plastic recycling bin. Very similar to thinking about emptying and rinsing your bottles in order to make sure the recycling plant works. The same thing with plastic bags and other light plastics, literally lightweight, like floating in the air type light. These things get caught up in this heavy duty machinery, and it causes the recycling plant to shut down. And if that happens, again, all the things that would have been recycled get sent to trash. And we'll talk about where our trash gets sent in Montgomery County in a little bit. Plastic cutlery and straws. Straws are that light plastic. Plastic cutlery, most of them are a number 6 plastic. Again, styrofoam, number 6 plastic, cannot be recycled. Used paper towels, napkins, and tissues, right? Your booger in that tissue is soaked into those fibers at this point. That cannot be recycled. If for some reason you're throwing away a roll of paper towels that haven't been used, that can be recycled. That's totally fine. But anything that's touched food residues, that's touched human residues, that is not very easy to get out of those fibers, those paper fibers. Okay. So that's it about recycling. Again, in Montgomery County, we have dual stream. In some cities in Montgomery County, you might have single stream, so you don't really need to worry about that. But do know kind of these things that you should be doing and shouldn't be doing. We'll talk about what you can do with these things that cannot be recycled that maybe you thought you could recycle in just a moment. So we got our banana peel, we got our juice carton. We're just talking about that styrofoam. So let's talk about what you do with that styrofoam cup. It unfortunately goes in the trash. We currently have no mechanism for recycling styrofoam products or number 6 products. So they have to go in the trash. So let's talk a little bit about here in Montgomery County what happens to our trash, which is kind of unique to our county. We do see it in other areas of the United States, but it's a pretty rare thing. So you put out your trash. Trash truck comes, and that trash truck, what you see in this picture, it dumps all of its trash into this big pit. This big pit is found at the Shady Grove transfer station. The Shady Grove transfer station is on the way to Montgomery College Rockville. Once you get off the interstate, you actually pass the entrance to the Shady Grove transfer station. You might see a lot of trash trucks going there. And so they tip all of their trash into this big pit. You see a bulldozer down here. It's going to move all this trash into a big hole in the floor, which you can't see. And the reason it gets pushed into this big hole is that it's going to dump all that trash and move all that trash into a train car. That train car is underneath that hole. The top of it is open for all the trash to get put in. And inside the train car is a compactor. So it'll push that trash together. It'll take in more trash, put that trash together, so on and so forth. So we get all these trash trucks, take their trash to the Shady Grove transfer station. They put that trash into a train, and then that train will go twice a day to the Covanta Resource Recovery Facility. This is found in Dickerson, Maryland. Sorry about that. So this facility is in Dickerson. If you're not familiar with where Dickerson is, it's semi in between Germantown and Frederick, but triangularly, like it's out on the way to Frederick. So it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's in horse country. Maybe some of you guys live out there. So in this facility, as you can see in this picture, this is an incinerator. This is where our trash is burned. So we burn this trash. It doesn't go to a landfill. We burn it, and what's really cool about it is that we use trash as a fuel. It says Covanta, that's the name of the company, Resource Recovery. This resource that we're talking about is heat, because we use that heat to boil water. We boil water to make steam, and when we have steam, we can power a turbine. And if we can power a turbine, we can generate electricity. So we burn this trash as a way to get rid of it, but then we use that heat that comes off from burning trash as a way to generate electricity, which is pretty freaking cool. And again, there's not many of these in the United States. Other states have them. We have one other in Maryland, in Baltimore, but that's it. So it's kind of unique. We power about 300,000 homes in Montgomery County, 30,000 homes in Montgomery County, which is still a good chunk of homes. A good chunk of people are being supplied by the trash that we generate. Now, let's talk about the trains. Why not have the trash trucks come straight to this facility? Why do we put it on a train first and then go to this facility? Well, as I told you guys, this facility is in Dickerson, Maryland. This is kind of in the middle of nowhere. Could you imagine, especially with the way Montgomery County is shaped, that trash trucks from Tacoma Park have to drive on 495 and 270 in order to get to Dickerson? You guys know the traffic around here. That is a whole thing in and of itself. Those trash trucks would spend more time getting to the facility than they do just emptying their trash at Shady Grove. So let's make it shorter. Just have them go to Shady Grove. Shady Grove is a lot more centrally located. You're going to have a lot less traffic. And again, out in the country, you've got single lane roads. Could you imagine the people living in this community that have hundreds of trash trucks taking up the road every single day? Think about all the fuel that would be needed to power every single trash truck every single day going to the middle of nowhere, Montgomery County. The amount of fuel that takes, the amount of greenhouse gases that releases. Well, let's go somewhere more central. That's less driving, that's less fuel, that's less greenhouse gases. Put it all on a train. Trains are a lot more efficient. Trains aren't using the roads. So it's just a lot more efficient to use these trains than to use hundreds upon hundreds of trash trucks. That trash gets burned, it produces electricity, but we still have something left over. We still have ash that's left over. And once we have that ash, it does go to a landfill. We have to send it somewhere. Fortunately, though, we have a good relationship with some landfills in Virginia, because we do not have any landfills in Montgomery County. We used to. You might be familiar with the Blue Mash Golf Course or Blue Mash Nature Trail. That actually was a landfill that's been covered and repurposed now as a park. Anyway, we don't have any active landfills in Montgomery County, and so the landfills that we send our ash to are in Virginia. And it's cool because it actually gets a second life. That ash is not deposited as trash. In a landfill, at the end of every day, wherever the garbage trucks have been adding trash, that gets covered in soil. Because we want to reduce pests. We don't want rats climbing in through. We don't want the seagulls. You can actually see seagulls in this picture. We don't want them picking through the trash and carrying trash with them. We don't want the wind carrying trash away. So at the end of every day, we cover trash with soil. Well, what these landfills will do is they take our ash and they use that as soil. So instead of them having to purchase soil, instead of them having to dig out soil, they just take our ash. So we got a way to get rid of our ash, and they have a way to get soil. Mutually beneficial relationship. So at least that ash is getting used for something, albeit it is still going to a landfill, but at least serving a purpose in that landfill. All right. So that was all about our trash. So thinking about our styrofoam cups, but then also thinking about everything else that you can't put everywhere else.